Hello YouTube, it's Mike from Team Endgame here, bringing you a set review of Great Nature from We Are Trinity Dragon. So to begin with, I'll go from the GR all the way down to the commons, so you can pretty much follow what I'm looking at on the wiki if you want, in that order, but I'll describe of course what they are as I go through them. So, to begin with, you've got the GR, the Omniscience Dragon Fernyiges, which is your GB3 card. So this gets 4k power for each of your rear guards in general as a continuous ability, and GB3 is Counter Blast 1 and Soul Blast 1. When this card is put into the G zone from the Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, at the end of the turn, choose all of your rear guards and retire them for each unit chosen with this effect. Draw a card, counter charge 1 and soul charge 1. Now this is pretty much deck out the card. It's somewhat of a staller card, so you'd use it if you don't see yourself winning in the near future. But I only advise using it if you have a small field, because as previously stated, it is deck out the card. I would not soul charge, counter charge and draw that many cards. Following on from that, you've got Immortality Professor Brahmananda, which is your Stride triple rare. Its effect is bear with me. So, Vanguard ability, Counter Blast 1, Persona Flip. Choose when this card unit attacks, if you have a heart with Honorary Professor in its card name, you pay the cost. If you do, choose up to the same number of cards from your hand as the number of cards face up in your G zone, call them to separate rear guards, and until the end of the turn they get auto. When this unit attacks, this unit gets 4k to the end of the battle, and at the end of the turn, draw a card and retire this unit. Now, I can see it being useful in the sense that it promotes the Bigbelly finisher stride, because unlike the normal Chatnoir stride, it persona flips, so it's another face-up card in your G zone. It's an alternate stride that you could potentially use for if you were to go into the Chatnoir stride again, because rather than counterblast to draw, you'd literally just use the counterblast 1 and have a similar kind of setup. But the limitation of this card is the fact that it has to target the cards called from hand only. But it's generally either that, or you'd use it for the wombo combo of the, I've got the Chatnoir Break Ride and the new Chatnoir and the discard, and oh look, I've got a massive setup and attack. Well, you've got the setup for it, I guess. Okay, following from that, you've got your triple rare grade 3 Bigbelly, the Teacher's Cane of Affection Bigbelly, which has a success of 25,000. So you've got GB2 ability, all of your successful units get 4k. If you have no rear guards, all your cards in your hand, get +1 for stride costs. Auto ability of Counter Blast 1 during your turn. When you stride, you pay the cost. If you do, choose one card with a success ability from your hand and call it to rear guard. Choose one of your rear guards, you may have it gain 4k until the end of the turn. If you do, then you can draw a card and retire that unit at the end of the turn. So, in regards to the +1 cost in hand for stride, it's very unlikely that you'll have no rear guards really, unless you build your deck around it. So you'd have to use your G guard to retire, to open up the rear guards, or you'd use your GR stride previously mentioned to destroy the field and draw and soul charge and unflip. It's an annoying success restriction is my niggly point at it. But otherwise, it's got the same kind of effect as the original Bigbelly. You'd mainly use it for its name, but you'd probably build a successor deck around it. It just solves the issue that the original Bigbelly had of not having a card on field to target. Following on from that, you've got Omniscience Dragon Al-miraj, which the effect of Soul Blast 1, this unit is placed on Guardian Circle, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose up to 2 of your cards from hand, call them to separate rear guards, and choose up to 4 of your rear guards. Near the turn they get Rearguard Circle or Guardian Circle resist. and the continuous ability of Rearguard Circle, if this unit is hit, it does not retire, which is comparable to Dismal, the Cray Elemental G-Guard, which stops the unit also from being retired, but however, it does stop, the Dismal stops the on-hit ability from activating, this one doesn't, although it does have other reasons to be ran. However, when it comes to the resist part, I'm not sure how applicable it would be, because there's not many cards which can target the rear guards during the battle step, more so as axe and things during their turn. So unless there's something that I currently can't think off the top of my head of an on-call ability which you can combine with it, then there's no reason you'd run this necessarily over the Cray Elemental one, because I think it has more ways of being applied to situations. Honorary Professor Chatsauvage, which is your new Honorary Professor card. You choose a grade 3 with Honorary Professor in its card name from your hand and discard it. When this unit is placed on Vanguard by riding an Honorary Professional Chatnoir, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose a face down Omniscience Dragon Cath Palg or Immortality Professor Brahmananda. It's so difficult on your G7 stride it. If you stride until the end of the turn, you cannot stride. So it's basically your break ride stride combo, which is mainly used for its name, and all I can say is enjoy the maths, because it's going to be a lot of 4Ks going about, because you've basically done a break ride stride. Lesser Writer, a double rare with the success ability of 20,000. Continuous Rearguard. If this unit is successful, all of your units with a success ability get 2k, and Continuous Resist. And act on a Rearguard Circle. You can Soul Blast 1 to have this unit become successful until the end of the turn, and at the end of the turn retire this unit. In comparison with something like Tapir, its main use is more for the success element to it, and the fact it can be 11k swinger. However, unless you're running a success deck, it's obviously not very applicable. I would say there are better options. Fine Coat Maltese, which is your new perfect guard for success, which has the ability that from the drop zone GB1, choose 2 of your rear guards that are successful and retire them at the end of your turn. You may pay the cost. If you do, search your deck for up to 1 Fine Goat Maltese, reveal it, put it to your hand and shuffle your deck. Now if you're going to retire 2 anyway, then of course you might as well proc this ability. It is a very, very strong card. I'm very happy it's there, but you'll have to obviously build a success deck around it. In comparison with something like the Unflipping Perfect Guard, it will come down purely to the amount of counterblast you have and your preference on the 2. Omniscience Dragon Kirtimukha, which is your stride rare, which has the ability of success 25k. When this unit becomes successful, choose up to 4 cards from your drop zone and put them on the bottom of your deck in any order. If you put 4 cards, choose 1 of your rear guards, it gets 4k to the end of the turn. At the end of the turn, draw a card and retire that unit. Now, it's an alternative to the already existing card of Soul Blast 1 and gain 8k to a unit, or 4k, and you can add another 4k, which is the Omniscience Dragon Hermthurs. However, there's obviously a benefit to running this one, because you can send 4 triggers back. There aren't many ways to shuffle the deck, however, except for what I believe to be most efficient off the top of my head, which is your grade 3 searching cards in Chatnoir, and your searching card for a grade 2 Bigbelly unit, which is in this set. Both strides, however, do require triggers in order to activate, because in order to get to the 25k you would need a trigger as well as the 4k, etc. But the setup would need to be there regardless. Well, for that you've got Full Mark Gorilla, which is a grade 3 11k. GB2, this cannot be retired even if it was hit. GB1, resist. And as a rearguard circle, as an act, you can counterblast 1, and this unit can be retired by card effects during the turn. It resists things. That's about all I can say on the matter. Treatis Panther, which is a rare grade 2. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, if you have a Vanguard with Honorary Professor in its card name, choose up to one of your other units, the rear guard, sorry, in the same row as this unit. At the end of the turn, it gets 4k and auto rear guard. End of the turn, draw a card and retire this unit. It's comparable with something like Tapir again, as it's a rear guard only ability, but now restricted due to the Honorary Professor in its card name Vanguard. Unlike Tapir, it hasn't got resist, but it's only really necessary for that resist if you're going against Kagero. I don't see why you wouldn't use it instead, as it's a non-GB effect as well, and it's nice to have the draw a card and retire this unit, rather than just losing the unit. Speaking of the grade 3 searcher, you've got a reprint of Honorary Assistant Mikesaburo, which is the when this unit is placed on rear guard during your main phase, choose one of your other rear guards. The other turn it gets during the end phase when this unit is put to the drop zone. Search your deck for up to 1 grade 3, reveal it to your opponent, and put it to your hand and shuffle your deck. A very, very good card. Travelling Momonga, which is your 7k rare. Success of 20k. When this GB1, when this unit is successful and is retired from the rearguard due to the effect from cards, if you have a Vanguard with Bigbelly in its card name, search up to 1 grade 2 or greater card, reveal it, put it to your hand and shuffle your deck, which is the searching card for Bigbelly, which I previously mentioned. There is, however, a nice grade 2 to search, which I'll come across in a bit. However, in general, it's just nice to see some searching capabilities, so you can start to tech a bit of things in the Bigbelly deck. However, due to the fact that combinations are required in Great Nature, it's not really applicable to do as much searching in a deck that promotes multiple copies of things like Crayon Tiger. Following that, you've got a reprint of Label Pangolin, which is a 7k grade 1 GB1. During your main phase, when your unit is placed on rearguard, choose another of your rearguards. Until the end of the turn, it gets auto rearguard. At the end of the battle, it's attacked a Vanguard. If the unit's power is 20k or more, soul charge 1, choose a card from your damage zone and turn it face up. Frustratingly, it's not a success card or anything like that, so it's not reprinted to adapt, it's just an old card. Still wouldn't see much use to my knowledge. Finally, the last card in the rare is Gifted Bear, which is your new starter, 5k, Forerunner. Rest this unit, choose a card with Honorary Professor in its card name in your hand and reveal it. If you reveal, search your deck for an Honorary Professor in its card name with a different name than the revealed card, show it to your opponent, add it to your hand, shuffle your deck, choose a card from your hand, discard it, at the end of the turn, retire this unit. Another card which can shuffle the deck, however, the retirement element will make it a -1 in the procedure in order to correct your ride, or thin the deck by 1 if needs be. In general, if it didn't retire and you could keep using it, it'd be far more applicable, of course. It'd be somewhat broken to that extent. You can keep searching stride fodder and things like that. Although in general, I wouldn't see it seeing much use unless you're purely looking for that break ride combo, or you're looking for that extra Honorary Professor in order to set up that combination for your next turn as well. Moving on to commons, you've got Edging Condor, which is a grade 3 10k, success 20k, rearguard only ability of GB1. When this attacks a Vanguard, this gets 4k until the end of the turn. Continuous rearguard, if this is successful, this gets 4k. At the end of the turn, retire this unit. So in general, it's a 10k filler card, I believe, with just purely for power reasons. I would never see any play. Go Home Toad, which is a common grade 2 9k of a rearguard ability, Soul Blast 1. If you have a Vanguard with Honorary Professor in its card name, this unit gets continuous. Rearguard Circle, this can attack a Vanguard from the back row. During the turn, at the end of the turn, you can retire this unit. In general, obviously 9k is not going to hit Vanguard, so you have to apply more effects to it. It's there in general for the combination with the Honorary Professor strides, or the Break Ride Stride combo. However, I wouldn't see it being used because there are many other cards which have a better place in the deck, rather than purely focusing on this unit to be dropped and multiple attacks, multiple retirements, multiple draws. It'd be a lot of 1-for-1s. I wouldn't, unless you'll stack it all on this one, but simply to get off an extra attack in front of this unit and apply all the effects to this one back unit, I wouldn't see it being worth it just to get that extra niggle at the front. Fullsack Squirrel, which is a grade 2 8k unit with a success of 20k. Continuous Vanguard or Rearguard Circle. If this is successful, this gets power of 2k. When this unit intercepts during the battle that your Vanguard was attacked, it gets 5k shield. So it's your new and improved 10k Interceptor, which is generic throughout all of the clans at the moment. It wouldn't see much play for the simple fact of there are better options in this card. Pastel Deer, which is a 7k grade 2. Now bear with me because it is quite a hidden gem here. It's a rearguard ability of GB1. When this unit is boosted by a unit with a power of 20k or greater, this unit gets a crit until the end of that battle. So it's pretty much usable as a tech of 1 or 2 because you can search it with the travelling Momonga in a Bigbelly deck. So it's searchable, so you can take it. It's avoided the crayon, however, and without stand triggers in the deck, it's avoided the ability to restand it and attack again with a crit because it has to be boosted. Although, with the Bigbelly Stride, it is still usable. So you could search it with the Momonga, you could use the Bigbelly Stride to target appropriate units to threaten with a restand. So you would attack with a crit, you would attack with the other unit, so be it the Vanguard or the Rearguard, so that if it does hit, it would restand that column and threaten them again. Even to the extent of, I swing with this column, it is a critical. I swing with a Vanguard, it could be a potential critical. I swing with the remaining Rearguard, if this hits, I'm restanding the full column with the Bigbelly power on it for a critical. So I believe it can see play, even it being a common 7k, although you'd need to run it in a Bigbelly deck and it would need to be that tech. You've got Reader Pig, which is a grade 1 7k common. When this unit is placed on Rearguard, you may have it get Continuous Rearguard. If you have a Vanguard with Honorary Professor in its card name, this unit can attack from the back row. At the end of the turn, if you do, retire this unit at the end of the turn. Now it's exactly the same as the previous grade 2 mentioned. It's purely there for that Honorary Professor full field spam combo of I attack multiple times from the back row and front row, apply them all to most likely themselves, or you can put it all on this single unit and get that extra niggle off in the front. It's pretty much going to be summarised the same way as that grade 2. There are better options unless you're purely focusing on that extra niggle at the front and put all the effects on this single unit. I wouldn't advise dropping your hand and doing a lot of 1-for-1s because you wouldn't gain any hand advantage in that respect. Magnifier Chow, which is your grade 1 5k with a Rearguard once per turn ability of Soul Blast 1. When your unit is successful and is retired from Rearguard Circle, you may pay the cost. If you do, draw a card. There is simply not enough Soul available to use this unit. It's in general quite a nice unit, but the grade 1 lineup is incredibly tight, so it'd be very, very difficult to put this in the deck. And it's also a once per turn ability, which also limits the amount of use you can get out of it. Specs Chinchilla, which is your new Forerunner common of 4k. It's your generic Rearguard Circle. Put this into Soul as an act. Choose a normal unit from your hand, discard it, look at the top card of your deck, put it to the top or bottom of your deck, draw a card, choose a number of face-up cards in your G-zone, is 1 or more, then you can choose one of your units and give it 5k at the end of the turn. It's a generic starter. The fact it's 4k is obviously a limitation. The only thing I can see it useful for is that Bigbelly final push setup of breaking that barrier for success or anything like that, and helping ensure that that critical is activated so that you can pressure them with that Crayon Tiger turn. However, it's simply because it's 4K and it's such a long-winded setup, just to help break that barrier or find that extra critical. I don't see it being used because there are just better options for forerunners. Polish Penguin, which is your critical trigger, it's just a new critical trigger. Pencil Case Pelican, which is simply your new draw trigger. Russian Kitten, which is simply your new stand trigger. Chemical Skunk, which is your new stand trigger, with the ability of act, rearguard circle, put this into the soul, choose one of your units and give it 3k. I don't believe that the extra 3k will make a huge difference in success. In general, it's just nice to have triggers with effects, although in the builds such as the Crayon Tiger and pushing and things like that, critical triggers in my opinion are far more useful, so I wouldn't see this seeing much play even though it has a nice effect. And finally, you've got your reprint of Honorary Professor Chatnoir, which is the Brake Ride. Now it's simply in a new art, there's nothing more to it, but it's just nice for those who are unable to obtain the card originally to make the deck. Overall, I see the support of Great Nature in this set to be pretty good. They've obviously focused on Bigbelly and Honorary Professor, so they've targeted the two strongest subclans in Great Nature. Success will most likely see more play due to this new support, which is nice. Other than that, I look forward to playing it. Thank you guys for listening and watching. Feel free to like, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you guys later.